Controversial comedian Matt Rife is at it again. The humorist made a recent appearance on Jordan Peterson's podcast to talk about how his joke about domestic violence may have offended some. Let's take a listen.
Exactly that.
Right.
But that's the thing is, it's like whether you enjoy what I do or not, you don't even have to know it exists. If I'm your problem, if you and I are face to face and you have a problem with my comedy that I tell, that I admit to the world, right? If you just remove yourself from me, if you do something as simple as just turn around, there is an entire planet behind you for you to go explore and live the rest of your life. You don't ever have to think about me. You don't have to talk about me. I don't like screamo heavy metal music. Guess how often I think about it or talk about it? 0% of the time. You just remove yourself from the situation. I see no harm in trying to make people laugh as a general intention.
Yeah, well, I also don't understand exactly from a purely logical perspective what the people who are complaining exactly expect from you, because and maybe it is that they have no sense of humor, and that's highly likely, or that they're doing something we can talk about, which is gaining some kind of benefit from their complaints, some virtue signaling. I really see that with the men in particular. Well, I really care a lot for women.
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Here's another comedian and actor, Theo responding to the Matt Rife controversy.
I wonder if that would make me feel like so much more rewarded than anything, because that was like the battlegrounds of being fun. Like that was where I feel like it was the most fun to be funny.
Yes.
Did you have that experience or no?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I couldn't not tell a joke. If I thought of it, I'm like, this is too good. It's gonna go to waste. But my thing was trying to make the teacher laugh.
Oh.
Because if you made a joke in class, teacher would yell at you immediately. But if you made her laugh or him laugh, it was always a woman, and I think about it, then they couldn't get mad at you. And that felt so good. Because it was like you knew you did something wrong, but you did it in the best way possible, so now you're the star.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So it was like, how do you not get in trouble? Right.
I understand you're going to put me in trouble, but you and I know.
Yes. And all these comics now, it's like almost the point is to get in trouble. It's like, why are you giving me shit? I'm a comic. I'm allowed to say whatever I want. That's wrong, as far as I'm concerned. Art.
Oh, wait, say it again so I don't miss it.
People think like, oh, as a comic, your job is to get in trouble. And so, but they don't want to get yelled at. It's like, it's okay to make people mad, but they don't want any pushback. And I think that's wrong. As a comedian, you want to make people laugh. This is a quote attributed to Andy Warhol that I love. It's just, art is getting away with it. You know, if you put out a special and everyone's pissed, like you didn't get away with it. You know, you need to make everyone laugh that they're like, yeah, he talked about some stuff, but we're all happy. That's art. Otherwise, you're just a troll.
That's fascinating, man, because it adds another level to it.
So, Briahna, I know that you're a humorless woke scold who just hates comedy and, sits in a lonely apartment, probably with a cat or something. I'm obviously wildly mischaracterizing you. React.
Look, so as someone who just went to that sold-out Dave Chappelle show here in D.C. last Thursday, I think there's really something true to the idea that the purpose should not be to try to make people mad. The purpose to make people laugh by coming up to the line, subverting people's expectations, talking about taboo subjects, having fun with it. But the sole goal, some people may get mad. When you're doing good comedy, I think you're on the line. And yeah, some people are going to think that you crossed it. But the goal shouldn't just be making people mad, or you are in fact a troll. And I think that Dave Chappelle, for the most part, I think with some exceptions, is the king of that. He loves to say something and then give you this cheeky little boyish look to the audience. And that's his whole shtick. He knows, he's in on it. And that's part of why it's so fun. And I think going back to the Matt Rife clip with Jordan Peterson, he kind of misses the point when he says, I don't like heavy metal or whatever, but I never talk about it. The backlash he's getting is from people who do like him, who do like heavy metal, but who just don't like this album, who just don't like this take. And it's not people who don't get his comedy or who are fragile and all of that. And it really isn't even, I think, about that one domestic violence joke, even though we kind of framed it that way up top. It's that the biggest problem with this special was that it wasn't funny.
It's interesting, and the person that Theo was interviewing, and I'm not quite sure who that was making a point that I think is close to the point I'm going to make, which is that there's almost a wanting to offend in order to like make yourself more controversial for your own
to do the
financial
cancel
support.
culture circuit.
A little bit. You're right. I remember I had a book coming out, and Andy No had just had a book come out, and they, Antifa protested the library. They might have burned it down. They didn't burn it down, but I was thinking, man, what a lucky guy. He's so lucky. That'd be the greatest thing to happen ever. A certain amount of protesting and attempted canceling is good. Obviously, then if the canceling like succeeds all the way, then it's bad for you. Sometimes, I mean, publishers when they look for books and for writers, they want the person to be controversial. They want the person to be targeted. They don't want to be so controversial, then they decide they can't publish them anymore, and it's a difficult.
Or if it overshadows your actual comedy. I mean, have you heard anybody talk about a single joke, a non-controversial joke, just any joke from Matt Rife's special, like, oh my God, that was so funny? If the most memorable joke that you told was only memorable because it was kind of out of step with what you typically do, and yes, offensive to some people, then was that a successful comedy special?
I think he's somehow growing on me over time. I didn't.
Did you watch it?
No. I just, the amount of like times the words Matt Rife, like over time it was like 0 for how much I've heard it, and then suddenly it's gone like it's an exponential curve. The amount of him I see on social media, amount of like now he's talking to Jordan Peterson. He's going to be. This is going to be a person whose views we react to now. He's going to be in the reaction circuit, and so maybe just by exposure to him, I'm finding his shtick a little bit more funny.
Well, one other thing that I think that he's gotten some flack for in the last few days is that so like we discussed. Part of his traction on TikTok initially was that he's like a handsome man. Well, a TikTok plastic surgeon, one of these, like doctors who spend a lot of time on TikTok, did a joke post saying, I did all that work creating the greatest jawline in the world just for my patient to get canceled right after. Now, he didn't say Matt Rife. He didn't say anything about anything, name anybody. But Matt Rife, his ears must have been tingling somewhere. Hit dog will holler. Responded saying, lying about medical history is illegal, just FYI. So
he's doing it. That's not funny.
So there's an argument that he's the one that is kind of thin-skinned and can't take a joke. And remember that Matt Rife's apology to his fans was to post a link that took you to a website where you could get one of like a helmet for special needs kids.
Yeah.
And so people have been responding saying, well, is it really just your fans that need a helmet, or are you also unable to handle the idea of some weird and kind of vaguely random doctor somewhere?
I think anybody who found
surgery.
the jokes offensive, there's no point getting worked up about offensive comedy. Comedy is often offensive, and actually being offended if your cause is to like de-promote this person, a lot of people being offended is exactly what comedians and performers and writers and thinkers actually want some degree of that. So it's not worth getting worked up. You might not think it's funny. A lot of comedy I don't find funny. The comedian I thought was really fun, continue to this day to think is so funny, even though he was brutally canceled. Maybe we could someday debate the fairness of that. You know who I'm going to say?
Do I?
Louis C.K.
Oh, no. Again, no one ever argued that Louis C.K. wasn't funny.
On the planet.
I saw him in Madison Square Garden, another sold-out crowad, and it was probably the funniest comedy show I've ever been to.
I still sometimes just watch his clips because it's so funny.
But you can admit that people are funny even if you... that wasn't even his humor that was offending people. It was his personal behavior that was the issue. But yeah, again, no one's arguing that Dave Chappelle isn't funny. Nobody's arguing that Louis C.K. isn't funny. Matt Rife's biggest problem is that he didn't do comedy well.
Called out by Briahna Joy Gray. What do you say to that, Matt Rife? More Rising right after this.